All right, for this step, I called it hollow volumes, or hollow forms, really. I'm going to show you guys the steps needed to make these look like they're empty inside. And so we got a few different examples and angles. And so on the page, you will see just kind of an example like this, okay? And I recommend copying this down first just to kind of get started. Please don't print it out and use it. Try to do it by hand just so you guys are continuing to get practice and exercise drawing these forms, okay? All right, so what we're gonna see some hollow forms, some where we can see the backside, others where it just looks like it's just empty, we can't really see the backside, and other forms where really we don't see any lines at all sometimes, okay? So let's start off with maybe these longer ones on the side. All right, and so really for any of these forms, what we want to draw is an inside parallel line of the same thickness, and I like to do kind of thin ones here. Okay, so it's kind of like an opening there. All right, but we can see that some part is missing. Doesn't look quite natural or realistic. We can kind of get the illusion that it's open. And the reason why that is because now that we've opened it up, we would actually see the inside edge. So we look at the corners, okay, and we draw the inside corner. And we still line it up to the vanishing point, okay? And so we'll start from this corner and we draw just to this edge here, okay? Now that looks a little bit more natural, okay? We don't draw these ones because this is solid. It doesn't go through the face. Only if from the inside, if it's going across the face of that inside shape, do we draw it, okay? All right. Now for cylinders, cylinders are easy. Besides drawing the same curve, it's more difficult. Okay, try to keep that consistent, try to elongate your lines, keep it light at first at least until you get that right angle. Then you can darken it up. All right, so for cylinders, we're done. There's no inside angles to add. The only way to make this look super 3D is to shade it. Okay, we'll get to that later. So we leave it, easy. Triangles, inside parallel lines, about the same thickness. You guys can go a little bit thicker than this if you want. Just make sure all the way around is the same. Kind of darken these edges a little bit more, okay? Okay, it looks like it's empty, but still looks like we're missing something. We want to check the corners, those outer corners really. Line it up to the vanishing point. Okay, don't forget that vanishing point. Okay. Line up, and that's the angle. Now sometimes you might draw these where the angle's a little weird and it lines up to this edge. If it's really close, you just don't draw it, you just keep it as is, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, when we get to this one, inside parallel line, and now we're thinking, okay, is there an edge? Well, let's line up the inside corners. Does it go through the face? No. Does this one go through the face? No. Does this one go through the front face? No. So that's what it is. We just leave it, okay? And again, like when we shade in form, that's what will look a little bit more three-dimensional and hollow, okay? All right, let's get to these ones. This is gonna be a little bit more difficult, but we're gonna start off with the inside parallel line. Okay, and do we have the inside edge? Let's start off with that. Yes, we do. Goes through the face. Let's draw a nice light line. Okay. Now with these, if they're short enough, we can see the back edge show through. And so this is going to be a lot more difficult to imagine here. And they do have to be pretty short for this to do so. So don't think you could just make it up on the long ones here. But if we look at this one over here, really what we're looking at is if I did this as an imaginary line, or made this look prismatic, okay, the back end is way back here, parallel, and then parallel, okay? So the back end, if we saw through this way back here, it doesn't show up in here. For these short ones, the back end's just right here, okay? So how do we know where it shows up? Well, we want to look at the back corners, and we want them to run parallel to the front edge here, like this, okay? And if that happens to show through the front of the face, we draw it just to this inside line here. Okay, see that? If I did that here, okay, here's the back corner going across. If I did that back here, okay, and I draw it, well, the front face is way up here. It doesn't go through that, so I don't draw it. I just leave it as is, okay? That's why this one's gonna stay a solid form. All right. Some people try to make it up. Like they're like, oh yeah, I want it to be the back end show through. And they're like this. Well, not really realistic. The back end's way back here. Okay. Not to say that could be a form, like maybe the bottom's cut out, but for this assignment, don't do that. All right. So for this one, okay, this corner here, this side, going to be parallel to this one, and the angles are a little off, but let's just draw it slightly off. Okay, so here I don't draw where it's solid, only where it shows up inside of the face. Okay, a lot tougher concept. I'm kind of jumping you guys to a really quick level, but just try to copy at least. Hopefully you'll pick it up a little later once we have more practice. Okay, and then I erase that line, that disconnecting line, because let's pretend this is empty, right? It's empty space. So if we imagine this, let's pretend like little arrows coming through the back end and comes through the face. It's hollow, okay? All right, so let's go to the circle. This one's a little bit harder because we don't have angles to work with, like no parallel lines. So how do we do this one? Okay, remember, inside parallel edge to make it hollow. Now for this circle over here, we don't see it empty, because if we continued, like this is oval with this back here, a little bit smaller because now it's back in space, doesn't show through the front. We can imagine that, okay? If this was like a tube that we came across, we probably wouldn't see through it at that angle, okay? But again, some people just might make it up. Like they just might go, oh, it's showing through. But doesn't really make sense. The back end's way back here, okay? So what I would do, there's two ways you can do this, okay? Just kind of see how big the circle is, okay? Kind of do that with the back end, really light, about the same shape. Okay, and where it shows through the front end, that's where you draw it. A little bit harder to do probably, so this is what I like to do. Okay, look at the thickness of it, okay, on the outside. Do about the same thickness on the inside, and just kind of draw it this way, and point your lines like it's coming to the angles here, okay? So the outside and inside should roughly have the same thickness. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Same thing with these too. Like notice the thickness here. Well, notice the thickness here. About the same. Okay, so you can actually get away with just kind of making it up a little bit. Just make sure it's got the same thickness there. So let's do that with this one. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you guys rather than the angles. Inside parallel lines. We've got a really short square in here. We're looking at these corners here. or we're looking at the thickness. Parallel here. We don't draw the line here. We can just use it to help guide us. And up here. Okay, kind of meet right there, and then we can draw this line. I'm kind of doing it backwards here. Making sure that line is to the vanishing point. Nope. Should be right about there. Close. Can be approximate, just as long as it looks natural. Okay. And erase those little lines that overlap there. All right. Now it looks empty, or like a bottom of a box from maybe top side angle. And if we drew an arrow, maybe just draw it coming from here. Over and through and stop and out. Looks like it's empty. Okay. And the last one here, let's do a little bit thicker. Let's see. So I drew this one on purpose because the angles are going to be really thin. So notice how the side lines up really close to the vanishing point. So it's like so thin. If I match up these, like it's almost not even there. You can't even tell. Almost lines up exactly to this edge. So do I draw it? You can, but watch. I mean, look how thin that is. It's almost like you shouldn't draw it at all, but if it shows up, draw it. So this one we're going to see because this edge is past the vanishing point more. So we're going to see the inside edge pop up here. Okay. Now, if it's a medium thickness, probably not going to be hollow. If it's short, probably will be empty, I should say, not hollow. It is hollow. So just watch out for that. Okay. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, you know, I'm not taking you guys too far up the steps too quick, but you know, that's kind of tough to work with on a 6-week course. So hopefully you guys are able to pick that up. If you guys need any help or extra demonstrations, please reach out to me and I'm here to help.